and welcome to Comeback Stories. In this show, we explore the theme of resilience. And today, I am super excited to invite a guest who's personified resilience. And friends, if I can't contain my excitement, you've got to go with me into the flow of the story because the one that I'm interviewing today is a very special individual. He has summited Mount Everest. I let that sink into you. He summited Mount Everest. Right from my childhood days, anytime I read about Tenzing Norgay and Edmund Hillary and their first ever summit, it's etched in history books. What fascinates everyone in this world is this highest point on earth called Mount Everest. In fact, Mount Everest is not just a geographical location, it has come to be the metaphor to accomplish the highest thing in life. In fact, people ask, what is your Everest? What is your personal Everest? So much so, this Mount Everest is really the highest form of accomplishment, not just physically in extreme endurance sport of mountaineering, but in real life as well. So, welcome, Jafar Ismail. I'm so delighted to welcome you.
Thank you, Sunil. Thank you for having me.
So, folks, the context for this is Jafar has written this book, Embracing Everest, Conquering Self. Now, I got it, I read it, I got goosebumps. So, I'll encourage you to get this copy right now because this is not just a book that will just transform or inspire you, but this is a kind of a book that you'd want to be by your bedside or in your regular bookshelf where you constantly read it multiple times. I can't endorse this book enough. For example, this book talks about how, and I'll get into that story in a minute, Jafar had experienced multiple setbacks along this journey. And at the age of 58, when most people, at least particularly in South Asia and the subcontinent, are thinking retirement, he embarked on this larger than life mission to get to summit Mount Everest. A phenomenal accomplishment by any standard. So I'll get into that story in a bit, but I'd encourage you to get your copy right now. In a little while, we'll share the QR code for you to get it into the video. And so you can be right at this moment. Do not delay it. I can't plug this book enough because when I was reading it, I had to pause and just absorb the magnitude of some of the things he was saying. Unfortunately, the medium of print kind of understates everything. But hopefully, some of these stories will come alive in our conversation. So let's just dive into the story. Jafar Bhai, may I refer to you as Jafar Bhai?
Certainly.
Is originally from the subcontinent, but currently is living in New Jersey. I've had the privilege of meeting him on a few occasions because of a common friend and a common running group that we are part of called Runners High with Bala. He'll reference that part in the story as well. But Bala is this incredible individual who put together a running community, and that's where we bumped into each other. And in our circles, Jafar is a legend, and rightly so. We honor you, we respect you. And so tell us this story. I want to pick up on how, as a young man, you had a disappointment in your life as an NCC cadet or something where you were supposed to go towards a mountain and that got dashed. Tell us that story, please.
Yeah, so it was actually, I was in middle school and the plan was being made for a trek to Everest Base Camp and they wanted to select a few people. So, of course, I volunteered. There were a few volunteers. Many people were not interested, but there were a few volunteers. And we all trained for it. We had to run 1,500 meters in 7.5 minutes. That was the criteria. So we did all that. So I was one of the persons selected. However, a few weeks before that, and the trek was supposed to begin in like early part of May, but few weeks before that, I was riding home from school, and I was with a group of friends, and a truck passed us closely, and the friend who was riding in front of me swerved in my path. So, in order to avoid colliding with him, I so further to the left and went off the road. And the roads are not that great in the subcontinent as they are here. And I hit a rock and I tumbled, and something pierced my upper thigh. So it was like I was bruised up pretty bad. So that pretty much derailed my plan of getting to the Everest or to the base camp at that early stage in my life.
So that was the first setback, really, because I would imagine you were building up in your mind the dream to get there, see the Mount Everest with for the
Up
possibly for the
close
first time,
and
and then those dreams were derailed. And so it just went back into the archives of your memory. And when did this desire to start mountaineering or picking up climbing and getting up to the top come back?
So I was always in the back of my mind, this was something that I would do. Someday I will climb Mount Everest. So this was always in my mind.
Did it
However,
trigger because of that failed disappointment or?
actually, it was much before that. Like
Okay.
you, when I heard the story of Sir Edmund Hillary and Tenzing Norgay, uh, there was this deep desire in me. I should probably one day go up to Mount Everest. So, uh, so it started a long time ago, but I did not really take any serious steps towards it until 2012. You get this, like when uh, when our common friend Bala, he organized a trip to Mount Kilimanjaro, and we Kilimanjaro, as you know, is the highest peak in Africa,
In Africa.
uh, at 19,300 feet, and when I climbed that mountain, there were two things that I discovered. Number one was that I can fortunately acclimatize quite well
Well,
at altitude. I did not have to take any of the altitude pills,
medicines. Yeah.
medicines, etc. And the second thing is, I just loved the mountains. I just loved the thought of going, and I knew that hey, I would probably climb a lot many mountains before
The
my
love
time is
affair with the mountains got rekindled of sense.
exactly. Yeah.
So, in between, what was your fitness like till Mount Kilimanjaro? Where you're a tech entrepreneur, you went into a line which is not exactly physically active. How was this
I,
long gap of
Yeah.
fitness?
So I was reasonably fit, like, in school, college, played sports, ran, swam. So I was reasonably fit. After I moved to the US, running was actually a sort of an outlet. But I would run not as part of a group or and never participated in any races, but I would just go out and run, like either in the morning or evening or, uh, you know, out with the kids. And so running was my outlet all throughout. So even until 2012, those days I would either run on the treadmill or go out and run, but never thought of doing a half marathon or full marathon prior to 2012.
So, would you say right at Kilimanjaro, the desire to think Everest started, or was it a series of steps before?
Actually, yeah, before that, it was just a dream, something that I would do. Someday I would do that. But after Kilimanjaro, that desire that one day I should climb that mountain, Mount Everest, would be there. I knew it was not going to be easy, but and then there were many factors to it, other than the fact of it's not easy to climb. There are other factors. Logistically, you need a lot of money for that. You need to take time off from work. Uh, all those factors had to be considered.
So, my knowledge or awareness of Mount Everest was predominantly when I read the story of Eric Meyer, the blind man who
Mhm.
summited. And I saw a few videos and I use them as part of my teaching curriculum when I teach people different habits and a pursuit of excellence and so on. Now, it's summiting Everest is tough enough, but for Eric Meyer, a
Mhm.
blind man who had to have a support crew to guide him along the way, must have been equally. So this show is all about resilience. So I want you to start sharing from Mount Kilimanjaro. How did you get to Everest? The first trip was through and to EBC first, right? So just chart us the journey from Kilimanjaro to EBC.
Okay. So from after we came back from Kilimanjaro, we had decided to climb. many peaks. Like so, with the same group of friends, we attempted to climb Mount Rainier in 2013. Were not successful, but we did all these little hikes, small hikes in the White Mountains here, Mount Washington. So we were always so that actually trend never stopped. We were always either hiking or climbing different small peaks. In 2018, we did another major climb to Mount Elbrus in Russia. Now, Russia, Mount Elbrus, I would say those were two summits. Number one was getting the Russian visa. uh, yeah, it was all great. Like when I went in to apply for the visa, I'm sure that's the experience with my
Was
other peers as well. That they thought I was Indian and they welcomed me, and suddenly when I pulled out my American passport, uh, all things
resistance,
changed. Yeah,
yes.
they got very. It's not an easy process. So that's what that was my first summit. The second part was climbing Mount Elbrus. Also, that is a very tough climb, although it's not as high as Mount Kilimanjaro even. But it is an entirely glacial climb, very dangerous mountain. So we climbed that. So that was once we had that. So that were two of the tallest peaks in two continents were done. We Africa and Europe was done. And then when we came the following year, we did a trek to the Everest base camp. And the plan was there were 26 of us. Now, kudos to Bala for organizing this
Yeah.
because getting together a team of 26 and organizing a trip for all of them to the Everest base camp is no easy feat. So, kudos to him for that. So, in that, it was a diverse team, and there were kids. I mean, my son went with me at that time, he was 14. So, 20 of them were going to go to the base camp, and six of us, in addition to the base camp, we decided to climb Mount Labuche at 6,100 meters or almost 20,000 feet. That that was going to be the highest that I had ever climbed. So so that was the next major step into it. And then the following years, yeah, we tried many hikes, many
So it
in
was
the
in the
US.
same trip that you also went for Mount Labuche, or
Yes,
it's okay?
yes. So we went up to we did the entire Everest base camp trek. We were supposed to go to the base camp and then go to Labuche, but because of the changes in the weather, which 20 proceeded to the base camp,
EBC.
while six of us we went to climb Mount Labuche, out of which four of us summited. Uh, Bala, myself, my son Sammy, and another friend of ours, Sonia. She's an ultra runner.
Right.
So four of us submitted, and two returned because of some issues. And then the following day, we reached the base camp.
Base camp.
So,
Right.
but then fast forward, another couple of years, COVID happened and a lot of things. But in 2023, I climbed Mount Aconcagua, which is at 23,000 feet or 22,800 feet. That is the tallest mountain in South America, and it is also known as the Mountain of Death. So
Death.
it's
I read about that. Yeah.
so it's a so after I climbed Mount Aconcagua, uh, and during I climbed that mountain with Nims Purja. It was
The the
so-
the
the
the, the
14
man of
peaks.
14 peaks.
Yes.
Right.
So I climbed with him. Very, very extraordinarily fit mountaineer and a great storyteller.
Yeah.
Uh, his, you can really enjoy his company.
His stories on Netflix and
Mhm.
yes.
So during that trip, I met many people who had climbed Everest, and so I was actually that's when I really thought that what, Everest is reachable at this point. So after I came back, a few months after that, after speaking to family and friends, I made a decision sometime that summer of 2023 that next year I will attempt to go to Mount Everest.
Fascinating. So many questions just on that topic about how you moved from one summit to the other, and each one strengthening your self belief and giving you confidence that it is doable. It is doable.
Mhm.
But yet, between you and the mountain, there's a huge journey.
Exactly.
Now, self belief is one part, but I wanted to ask what kind of a mechanism did your mind have to handle doubts, doubting Thomases around you,
Mhm.
people who said, come on, your age is not on your side. I mean, they may not have said it directly to your face, but there is a thing that you're not in the prime of our youth. As the statistics you pointed in your book, most people are in the 40s.
Yep.
But how did you overcome that first inner mountain or inner doubt?
Well, one of the first things is I knew my own limitations. I knew what I was good at, what I was not good at. So my after and I knew the difficulty I faced at Aconcagua. Even though 23,000 feet, I had it was a very tough climb and something highest that I had ever been. But after that, one of the things that I knew again was I was able to acclimatize. I did not have any trouble
Breathing
acclimatizing
and
at even at 7,000 meters now. So that was one. But I didn't know that I had to build up my cardio to be much better than to be. So that was one thing that I focused on during the majority of my training. So that was the physical part. The other training that I had to do was learn about the mountains. What are the dangerous things out there? And the third thing was, building my own resolve, like asking myself all these what if questions, and how I would
respond.
respond to that. So trying to uh, once you have thought about something, you are in a much
Better.
better uh, position to respond to it when you are faced with it in actuality.
So in that sense, it's like a simulator, right? You kept simulating what happens then, what if this questions. But all that preparation versus finally saying, "Hey, I'm going to go do this." You talk about Lubna's role, your dear wife,
Yes.
her support and her strengthening your resolve. You talk about Bala. You talk about a few others in the community of mountaineers. But really, I want to just ask you: at what point did you say, "No matter what, I'm going to give it a shot"?
Oh, once the decision was made, uh, it was summer of 2023. I said, you know what, I'm going to give it a shot. Success or failure, I did not know. But I would try to go as much as possible. Uh, I also resolved not to be reckless. Like I was not prepared to come what may,
Do
go
it
for it.
anyway.
So there were these criterias and points that I had in my mind that should something like this happen, I will turn back.
So this is a new lesson for me, folks. As I was reading Jafar's story, my only experience has been in the area of running and running long distances. But while there are parallels, mountaineering is a completely different ball game. There are times where you need to say the summiting can wait for another day.
Mhm.
Safety and survival first, right? That you kept repeating a mantra, right? That your tour company
Mhm.
taught you a mantra right in the
Yes.
beginning and said
Safely up,
safety,
safely
safety
down.
down. And another thing about mountaineering I found is if a group of 10 people started, there is absolutely no guarantee that all 10 will summit and all 10 will come back. There's the odds that are stacked against you, particularly in mountains like Akangwa and Everest.
Mhm.
And so tell us about how the mindset of a mountaineer or a climber works in extreme weather conditions that change in a minute.
This is where I think it's a very personal decision somebody has to make, because mountaineering is hard. Your body is battered. You're tired. You're cold. Uh, you're hungry. You may even be thirsty. So everything is against you, and then the conditions forward are adverse. So in that situation, you have to. It's a mental strength. You need a lot of mental reserve to continue going. There are people who give up at that point and they say, you know what, I've come as far as I could. I go back, and I think they make the best decision possible for themselves, because going forward and then having to depend or call upon somebody else for rescue means that you are putting somebody
Is in
else's
danger.
in harm's way, because a rescuer would have to come up to you and support you to bring down. I've had situations where I have had to lend a hand to somebody, and in most cases my help has been either supporting them or carrying their back. But at that altitude, once you're at an altitude, anything extra is just that.
Just weighs you down.
It weighs you down. It is something that, you I have done it willingly because I know the other person would do the same
Or
for me. But it is better for you to measure your own status, check your own status, and make a decision to come back.
but that's
Because
a tricky one, Jafar Bhai. The reason being, this weather changes happen so radically and so fast that I personally, if I'm in that situation, I'd think maybe if I brave another 15, 20 steps, maybe the weather would turn for the better and then it'll clear. So, how do you make that
it's
calculated judgment?
again, it's a very personal decision and a very subjective decision for those conditions. I have had a situation. I forget about this big, huge mountains. I was on this climb and back in February 2023, Mount Marcy, 3,500-meter mountain, not too tall. However, the trail was 7 miles up, and we were very close to the summit, about 250 feet or 250 yards away from the summit, according to the all trail indicator. But we had total whiteout conditions, and we were just not able to get on the trail. We were getting lost. So at that point, I was with another friend of mine, and both of us decided that, hey, even though it's so close, but staying here longer would put us in danger,
Danger.
because when the wind chill temperatures are like minus 35 or so, you don't want to be taking chances. So we made a decision to turn back, even though the summit was, probably minutes away. If the weather was clear, we could probably have. It was probably within sight. So, based on the conditions and the situations and your own condition, you have to make this decision. And I know these are. I did mention that in the book, that these are your conflicting instinct, because on one side you tell yourself to push further, you call on your mental reserves to push you further than what you're physically capable of,
Capable of.
and then on the other hand you have to
What?
know when to turn back.
It's a very nightmarish situation because for some people, this is a dream of a lifetime, years of preparation, finances, all culminating in, and then one adverse turn of events from a weather standpoint, you're just aborting the dream. So I'm sure your mental strength and clarity comes into and that altitude, clarity of thought is not guaranteed either. Rush of emotions and in a team. How did the team dynamics play, Jafar Bhai?
Fortunately for my Everest team, we were about a team of 8 people. There were 4 from the US and 4 from Poland.
Yes,
So we got along very well from the beginning itself. There were some little bit of skirmishes between the 2 people, but those were
minor
pretty
compared
minor,
to
pretty minor. So, and I think teamwork actually, it's very helpful in that you are, in a team, 1 plus 1 is not 2, but one plus 1 is 3, because you support each other, you bolster each other to go take a step further than what they would do it. The encouragement that's there, so you feel good, and you also have that confidence that, hey, this person cares for me, so he will support me if needed. Likewise, and you would do the same for him.
folks. I want to make a segue into the lessons learned and how you and I, as individuals, even if we don't end up summiting Everest, what lessons can we draw from Jafar Ismail's story? But before I do that, I want to ask him, what did this mean to you? When did this sink in that you actually summited Everest? You joined this elite band of a few handful of individuals who've actually gone to the top of the world.
Yeah, at the time in 2024, I believe about 6,700 people had summited Mount Everest in the past 70 years, 70 plus years. So it was, it took a few weeks for me to come back to really realize that, yes, I was there. I would sometimes look at the picture and still not believe that, did I really get there and come back? And then I got the certificate from the Nepal government tourism department that says that, I summited Mount Everest. But it did take some time, a few weeks, for it to fully register. that not only did I achieve my dream, but I also came back safe and sound.
Safe and sound. In the book, Jafar talks about a very touching moment where he is able to hum a nice tune and dedicate it to his wife Lubna, and then only to be shown his place by another young guy who did a bit of a dance. And so tell us about that incident where
Yes.
you are coming back and you had this summit behind you, and then what was running in
It
your
was
mind?
it was actually at the completion of our rotations. Rotation is something where it's a training climb, and in the Everest for a rotation you go up to camp 1 and then
Then
go up to
Camp 2,
camp 2 and
and
then
then come
go
back.
halfway up to camp 3. You just when you reach the Lhotse face you turn back. So we were at that point, and we knew that after this we were going to return to camp 2 and then going back to the base camp. The
Right.
rotation was done. So at that time, I actually it was another my one of friend of mine who was climbing with me asked me to sing that song. So I basically just off. I pulled out my phone, just sang that Bollywood song, "Oh Mehbooba," and then I felt very good about it that I was able to. We were almost at 6,800 meters or so, and I was able to sing
Running out
without
of breath.
running out
Running out
of
of breath.
breath, and I felt great. I said, you know what, I must be good. So then I was, I
Feeling
just
good.
feeling good and was dancing. And there was this young guy, like probably 20s, yeah, Sherp guide with us. He actually went on his
Tippy toes.
tippy toes, and started dancing. And I said, no, I can't. And then he ran up and then ran down backwards. Like
Wow.
this is that was something that was amazing. And I was just taken aback. I said, no, I can't. I'm not even going to attempt that.
Those kind of goosebump stories just are worth living, so to speak. You've pushed extreme limits in your quest for summiting Mount Everest, and the book's title is Conquering Self. Now, give us a little insight into the title of the book, and what are some top of the mind lessons that you would give, let's say in an elevator you're with someone, or just in the line grabbing coffee, and then someone says, hey, what stands as key lessons at the top of your mind?
uh, Everest has been a dream. Like this is where I'm talking about the title here. Everest has been a dream, something that I wanted to achieve, but I also knew that getting to the top is not going to be entirely me. A lot of factors have to come together for us, for me to be able to get up to the mountain. I would need support from other people. I would need support from most of all, I would need support from the mountain itself,
Weather, yeah.
for us the good provide us good weather, good and safe passage up to there and coming back. So I did not want to. People say you conquered Everest. I mean, I like to say I conquered my own self, my own doubts, and my own feelings of negativity that would have caused me to turn back before reaching the summit. So this is how
So, in that
came up with
sense,
the
you see Summit as merely an extension of all the inner doubts, demons that you had to overcome, and then the
to
outward
reach the
victories
yes.
is there. So, folks, right there is a fantastic lesson that sometimes we are our biggest limitation, we are our biggest enemy. We need to get out of the way in pursuit of the dream that is beckoning you. So, what setbacks would you say were the big ones, and how did you overcome them?
Yeah.
And this is where I want to talk about resilience.
Yeah. The biggest setback, I would say, I mean, I did have a couple of falls. I
Yes,
described,
in the
yeah,
as you mentioned in the
in the
book.
book, coming down one of our training climb. We went to Labuche. Coming back, I tripped and fell and broke my hiking pole. Trying to, but thankfully the pole broke, but nothing happened to me. And then there were a couple of other falls that another time in rotations, I almost fell and came to the edge of a crevasse. But my biggest setback was I got up to the summit and I realized after some time, because of snow blindness, I lost my sight. I was not able to see 2 feet
Anything.
in front of me. I mean, I was able to make out figures, but they were all big blurs. Uh, so, and that's And I had just come up from Hillary step, and I had an incident at the Hillary step also where somebody bumped into me. I almost slipped and fell. So, and then when I got to the summit, suddenly I see my vision receding. So I asked my Sherpa, "Hey, is everything okay? Is this the fog? What's going on?" He says, "No, yeah, this is it's cloudy, but it's okay." And then I knew something was wrong, and I was totally blind. And on my return, I navigated the Hillary step, came down all the way to South Summit without my ability to
Full,
see clearly,
full vision.
without full vision.
Oh man, talk of steps of faith right there. One of the things that the book really showcases is Jafar is a man of faith, a man of immense, deep reservoirs of belief that stems from the fact that God has a plan for our lives, that He'd want us to achieve great things in our life, and so that adversity example tells you that you got to have faith that it'll work out. It'll work out in the end, and that kept going. And so
Mhm.
this is a fascinating part.
And the pragmatic side of it is you have to take charge and do something about it.
So
God will
how
give you
did
the
you how did you navigate that part when you were
so
struggling?
so when I was struggling, I called two guys that were with me, and I told them, one was Dorje, another is Shyam. I called them both over and I said, "Hey, I am unable to see. I'm unable to see clearly. Everything is a blur of white. I mean, this is all I can see some shapes moving around here and there. I can't see. So there is no way I'll be able to come down without knowing, that navigating the descent uh, safely." So I said, here's what I'm going to do. Number one, I do not want anybody pushing or pulling me because I can go off balance. Number two, so I will come down at my speed. What I need from you is, I said, told Sham, you be in the front. I'm going to arm's length where I can see, which way I'm going to go. And Dorji, I said, you will please come behind me and watch that if I'm not going to put my foot anywhere where I should be careful of, if my footing is not going to be safe, please warn me, and we will come down slowly,
So you literally did one step at a time.
literally one step at a time. And I do remember when at one point on the Hillary step, we're descending, it's a clearly vertical way, and there's no way I'm not able to see and which way. So Sham actually caught hold of my boot
Good.
and placed it. He says, "This is the spot." So
Wow.
it was that was, and then slowly we descended, and after a few hours, my sight started getting better, and descent became a bit easier.
So was it a condition of the altitude or your own
It is
body's?
it is a couple of, I think there were a couple of factors. Number one was, I mean, now hindsight, I do know that my oxygen mask was not fitting correctly, and there was oxygen leaking on this from the side. So my eyes were getting dry and very cold, even with my glasses on and sunglasses and all. So it was cold. And the other factor could be, just the glare
The
from the snow
reflection
and
and snow.
reflection and all that. So it was probably something that was building up.
Fascinating, fascinating. We could keep going on, but just staying on the lessons learned. How has Everest transformed you as an individual, as a leader?
One of the things that after I came back from Everest and when I have been meeting people, I have been very inspired because there I was. I physically climbed the mountain, but I found and met people. Everybody has been, many people have been climbing their own Everest, so to speak. They are overcoming challenges. And so, Neil, I must really appreciate you from what you just described. There was a time that people doubted that you would even walk, uh, and here you are completing ultra
Wow.
marathons. So I found that there are so many inspirational stories out there
Around us.
around us. Yes, it's just a matter of asking.
Fascinating. In fact, the town that Jafar Bhai lives gave him a special honor because he put the town on the map. Share with us a little
Yes.
bit
So
about that
after I came back, so we have our town has a listserv,
group. Yeah.
email group, and somebody posted that, hey, somebody in our community has gone to Mount Everest and come back. So our mayor heard about it, And he actually asked the town clerk to search if anybody else had ever
Town
climbed
has
Mount
done.
Everest. So the only other our police chief has gone to the base camp. So when I came back, they honored me. They basically dedicated September 16th, 2024 as Jafar Ismail Day for my.
Fantastic. How many of us can say a day has been designated in history as ours? So, I mean, our birthdays are special, but so are many others. But thank you for sharing the story about how you you took this dream of yours that
Mhm.
lay residual in your mind for a long time, and then you just kept moving from place to place, and then finally you summited. So it's like asking somebody after they won the World Cup or something, what next, right?
Mhm.
So, what next for you? What
Uh,
keeps you going now?
well, I mean, there are always goals. There are always things that we can do. For me, I'm actually seriously thinking about doing the 7 summits. I've done four of the 7 summits
Already,
already. What remains now is the tallest summit in North America, which is Denali or Mount McKinley,
Alaska.
and then in Alaska, and then the one in Mount Vinson in Antarctica, and the Carton's Pyramid in Oceania. So now I feel like those are achievable. I will work towards that. But one of the things, but these are just climbing things. These are something that I want to do. But one of the lesson learned that I could really, and this is something I really thought about it for a long time, and on the way back, is that no dream is too big. No dream
No
is too
dream is
big,
too big.
because once you make up your mind for to do something and start working towards it slowly, steadily, you will find yourself getting closer to your goal or whatever you dream of, uh, and then you can achieve that.
Ties back right into the theme of resilience. No dream is too big. If your mind can conceive it, you can achieve it. Folks, that's the summary of Jafar Ishmael's story. After having summited Everest, he's not saying, okay, now I've written a book, I'll just chill, I'll just sign books and inspire. He's saying, I've got 3 more to go. They may not be the same scale as Everest, but this is 7 summits. So it's fascinating that you are able to continuously wake up each morning and saying, I've got another thing to do. And it's is it the way you see it? Is it your gift to yourself or gift to the world? Where does that motivation come from?
It is, in a way, it is a desire to be at a place like, for getting to Everest was not to let people know that I went there. It was something that I wanted to see what Edmund Hillary saw. So that dream, like when it started, when I was in primary school, back when so that's the genesis of that dream was, how can I stand in the footsteps and walk in the footsteps of those legends who were there for the very first time and see what they saw.
Yeah, in fact, the book talks about when you submitted. Just tell our listeners, what was your feeling? What did you see? What ran through your mind? I know they only allow a couple of people at the a few when you are at the top.
Mhm.
So tell us what really happened in the top of the mount.
Well, it was before when you pass the Hillary step, there's a constant slope. You keep going, although its summit is now visible, but it's still like you're taking like a few steps a minute, and you're slowly when you get there. It's the feeling that hey, it's another 5 steps, 10 steps. Once I got to the summit, it was like I felt like really, really humbled. Like that this is something I'm so fortunate to have reached that spot and to get to where I had been dreaming about all pretty much all my life. And at that point, one of the guides with me, he contacted our base camp manager, and who was the first one to congratulate me. And speaking to him, I have I've saved the recording. I listen to it from time to time, and when I just told him like, hey, I'm on the summit. I just
I
can't
did
believe
it.
it.
Yes.
And he congratulated me. And then the next thing I said was, hey, can you please send a WhatsApp message
To the
to,
family.
to my wife, actually,
Mm.
because I had connected them before I left. And I'm telling Bibek that, hey, please send a WhatsApp. I didn't have to tell him to send it to Lubna. Uh, he knew. And then he recorded that message and he sent it to Lubna.
Fascinating. Fascinating. Among the billions of people who would have heard about Everest and many would have seen it, you are one of the few thousands of people, 6,700 to be precise, to actually put your foot there. Immediately, your mind went back to, okay, now that I'm at the top, how do I safely get back?
Correct.
That's the next goal, right? So walk us through it, and then we'll wrap up this
Yeah,
conversation.
so we got there, took some pictures. Like I described, I had trouble with my vision. That's when I had a serious doubt. Will I be able to make it down? Will I make it down safely? I didn't want to slip and fall, and not being able to see is certainly it's a very scary thought. I mean, walking across a room at night is like sometimes you're careful. Now imagine I have to descend all the Hillary step, which is one of the most dangerous places on of the climb.
On-
Majority of the fatalities have happened at that location. So uh, it was it was a very scary thought. So after spending some time there, we made a plan, and this is where I feel like I feel that my ability to manage the contingency, something that was, and this is something I had not foreseen at all. I had foreseen
It wasn't in
situation.
your what if scenarios that you had
Not at
planned.
all. That I would go blind. I had, well, what if I break my arm, break my leg, break something like that is, you can think about it. But I had never given a thought that, I would lose my sight at 8,848 meters. And although thankfully it was temporary, but still coming down in that state was something I had not planned. And I had to make, manage that contingency on the fly. And with the help of my two guides, my two wonderful guides, and I wish them, I thank them every time when I think about it, Shyam and Dorje, for their help in bringing me down.
It's a team effort, isn't it? Ultimately, most larger than life goals call for team effort. Very few are all by yourself.
Mhm.
In that sense, let me just tie this together by asking you, what lessons would you offer to any of our listeners who have these larger than life dreams? Some of them might even consider summiting Everest. So, what's your advice to?
No matter what you are planning to do, no matter what your goal is, number one is make the intention. Number two, make a solid plan, learn about it, and number three is work towards it. Even if you take one step a day, you are getting that one step closer to your end goal. And then you sooner than later you will find yourself closer to your goal, and then even achieve your goal. So whether it's mountain climbing, whether it is to want to run a ultra, whether you want to achieve something, let's say go back to school and achieve a degree, or
Or a professional
or a
goal?
professional goal, no matter what it is, just work towards it one step at a time. And this is something I mentioned it in the book, but this is the thought came to me when I was climbing up. Just take one step, and then the next, and then one more step.
Take the next step, one more, and then the next. That summarizes the real go getting spirit, never say die spirit of handling adversities on the fly, as was explained by Jafar Ismail. Jafar Bhai, you're one of the few people that I personally know who's summited Mount Everest, and just we just doff our hats to you. Fantastic accomplishment, and I wish you the very best as you go for the 7 summits. And I can't wait to catch up again and reorient our listeners as to how the 7 summits journey was. But thank you for joining and sharing your story with our listeners today.
Thank you so much, and I love relating my story. And as you said, I would like this to be told.
So, folks, as I sign off, let me remind you we will be sharing a QR code with you, but do get a copy of this wonderful book, Embracing Everest, Conquering Self by Jafar Ismail. a tech entrepreneur from New Jersey who's summited Mount Everest.